Hi, beautiful soul. Welcome to the very first episode of Healing Hall. And here we talk about healing, not healing just from love or relationships, but we also talk about healing from friendships, healing from your inner self with things that maybe have occurred to you or yourself. This podcast I created as a safe space for us to talk, to cry, to laugh, and to be gentle to each other. And how I started this podcast, I did not start it in the midst of clarity. I started it at a point where I was so low, where I was also going through a situation or a tough moment in my life. And mine specifically was healing from something. And that is where I got the idea to share, because I thought that I wasn't the only one carrying this grief, that there were other people who are carrying the same grief and they want to heal. So I thought of sharing this so that all together we can heal. So welcome to our very first podcast. If I healed, you will also heal. Yeah. So let's talk about why I started this podcast. As I've said prior, I started this podcast from a point where I was so low and I was trying to get over things that I could not talk about. There's a point in life whereby you go through some things, and in the midst of those things you feel like nobody will understand you, and you feel like it's going to take long really for you to get over a situation like that, of which it's usually true. Most of the times it takes a while, especially from breakups from relationships or families, or maybe self-harm or something that you did, past decisions, and you're ashamed and they keep occurring to you every time and you're afraid to heal. And yeah, so when you are at that particular point, how does it feel? For me, I'd say that at that point it feels like when you talk to people, they won't understand what you're feeling. Or you might talk to them, yes, and some of them might listen to you, but they'll give you the idea, or they'll make you feel that you're nagging them because you are continuously talking about, let's use for example a relationship. Maybe you were in a relationship and it ended badly, and you have that particular friend that you continue to tell her, oh, I was in love with this person, we've broken up, it's not easy for me. The first few days, maybe your true friend will listen to you. But there sometimes as human beings, we get tired of redundancy of people repeating the same issue to you every time. Oh, he did this to me. Why did he leave? I thought that he was the one. But yeah, things happen, and some relationships or some things are not meant to stay forever in our lives, and we have to move on regardless, because you cannot continue to carry that weight for so long. Let's talk about brokenness, and not the kind of brokenness that people see, that when you're outside people see enyewe ule ni kama she's going through something. But there are people you see outside, they go through a lot, but they put on smiley faces, they are happy to help, they're happy to listen. And most of the time you find that those people, when they carry their own burdens, they don't speak out loud, and they're ready to listen to you, and they don't show you like, oh, I'm going through the same thing, or I'm hurting, or I'm broken somewhere. They don't tell you that. We want to talk about the kind of brokenness that is hidden behind that. When you go back to your private place, when you go back to your house, when you're alone and you break down and you cry and you ask why everything is happening to you. Yeah, I want to tell you that you're not alone in that, and you never were, even from the beginning of that situation. And when you want to heal, it's not about being whole. Like when you want to heal, you don't have to be whole to start healing. No, you just have to be willing. When you're willing to heal, that's it. That's all it takes, literally, to start healing. Because I know that it's hard even to come into terms to accept that you want to heal. Sometimes we want to cling on that fact that I just want to cry my all. I just want to cry and cry and cry. Like I remember when I started this process, it was about November. November. And so sometimes the pain is, I don't know how to explain it, it's sometimes sweet, like you want to cling on that pain, you just want to cry and think of that person or what happened to you, so that that person or that thing can come back to you, you know. But you find that this thing is draining you, you can't focus, everything reminds you of them or that situation. But it just has to reach a point where you just have to start telling yourself that this is done. You cannot cling to something that wasn't meant for you, or clearly you don't see it working in your favor. So at around February, I was willing to heal. I was willing to heal because it had gone on for some time, and it was really hard to get by, because you know how healing is so tough. But I was very willing, and I'll share with you one idea that I started to do for myself that helped me through. So in a time, I started thinking, in this situation, what would I like to hear? What would I like to hear from people? Or how what would I like to hear from people telling me? Or what would people say to me in such a situation? And then there's a time where you want to feel loved, you want to feel special. Also you want to, unataka kujiambia, mbona nilifanya hivi, how was I thinking like this, how could I be so, like, okay, yeah, how could I be carried this way by some people or some things in my life. And when you think about that, the idea that I started practicing, I started writing to myself. And when you're writing this, you should be very gentle with yourself, you know. There are some things maybe you have done in the past, then ukifikiria unaona hii hapa nayo sikuwa nafikiria, like mbona mimi nifanye hivi, like why mbona nikubali kubebwa hivi na mtu mwingine ama na this situation. So you should always be gentle with yourself, but at the same time you should also be honest with yourself. So I started journaling, I started writing letters to myself, I started telling myself, you're beautiful, you have many chances, there are more to come, you can start healing if you want to, you are able to heal, things like that. And also while doing this, while writing yourself letters or journaling, you should also remember to set boundaries for yourself, to make now new boundaries for yourself. If for example a situation happened to you and you felt that you crossed your boundaries, that's why you are hurting, because you never thought that you would do this and now you did it and it's hurting you. You should make sure that for future reference you should set boundaries within yourself. You write, you journal, you write letters to yourself, how beautiful you are, how amazing you are, how you're going to heal and everything. And believe me, that always works. And you should not also be ashamed of your past decisions, because everybody makes mistakes. Like, people make mistakes, and when you start there's always regretting, but you just regret for a time and you continue to move forward, because mistakes always happen. You cannot stick on that mistake that you did or what others did to you for the rest of your life, you know. So you should take a bold step and decide to move on, and that is where your healing will start. And also, being broken doesn't mean that you are beyond repair. It's not weakness to feel broken or to feel the emotions or to cry or to be strong for yourself. It's not weakness, it's actually humanity. And you can also do that like when you're alone. That's why we've said you can cry to yourself, you can write letters to yourself. Things maybe when others see, wanaweza sema ai mbona unafanya hivi, buda mbona una, you know. But you can stay with yourself and write letters to yourself, talk to yourself and be gentle to yourself. Things that you'd want others to do to you, do them for yourself first. Ndio sasa mwili yako ianze kuadapt healing, ianze kusikia you're starting to heal. And up to that point, I want us to quietly think that, to think of these 3 points, like what part have I abandoned to survive? There sometimes we feel like siwezi heal, so I'll just stop thinking about it, I'll not love again, I'll continue with my work or job. I'll move so that I can't feel love again. I don't want anything to do with men, or I don't want anything to do with my relationship or other relationships with men, women, or my family or anything. And we tend to abandon that part, tunaiacha tu. And when a time comes and that part is a little bit disturbed, unapata you erupt because that part had not healed. So the main goal of this podcast is those parts that we have abandoned, we tend to them first. We tend to our hearts first. That heart that is still in our heart, we tend to it so that we heal perfectly, and then we continue. Where am I hurting? Also, you have to know the point where you are hurting. Is it your heart? Is it your mind? Like, what happened to you? What did that toxic relationship do to you? What did maybe your abusive partner or parent or relative or someone did to you? What did they do to you that is making you hurt and all that? And what do I wish to be told? And then you say it to yourself. As I've said prior, what do you wish to be told by your parent, by your mom, by your dad, whom you feel distant from, by your friend? You tell it yourself. You become your own friend. You journal it and you read it loud to yourself. So that is part of what I did, and I was helped. And if I have healed, then also you can heal. And it's not perfect. Healing is not perfect. Actually, healing is messy. It's very slow. It takes time, but also it's divine. And everybody can heal, no matter what happened to you. You always can heal. So at my bio, there's a link to a letter, an anonymous letter that you're going to. It's a form that you're going to write. If you are open to, you're going to write yourself a letter. It will be anonymous. If you want us to read it aloud, we will do that. And there's beauty of hearing what you have written yourself being read aloud. Even if you don't want us to know, it can be anonymous. You just write what you want to be told and everything, how you feel you want to heal, and we read it aloud together. And I can assure you that that is the very first process where we can start from healing. And after you do that, we'll catch up on the next episode, and the next episode will be the weight of silence. So see you on the next episode. Thank you for coming with me on this journey. Make sure to like, to subscribe, and to share. Bye guys.